I want to start this off with the meaning of fall from grace. Lose favor or a position of power or honor. Not all of these are going to be because an athlete was out of control or breaking the law. There are so many reasons why an athlete doesn't reach their full potential, and not all of the reasons are their fault. Some of these things just happen. What is a shooting star? It's when a small piece of rock or dust hits the Earth's atmosphere from space, and it moves so fast that it heats up and glows as it moves through the atmosphere. Cam Newton is a shooting star heading directly towards the NFL. An undefeated season at Auburn that results in a national championship for the school and a Heisman Trophy for Cam. He was the number 1 overall pick in the 2011 NFL Draft. A no-brainer. I mean, the guy threw for 422 yards in his first ever NFL game. Most shooting stars are quick flashes and don't produce anything noteworthy, but some last just long enough for us to track their brief course through the sky. Cam Newton is on another planet, and the Carolina Panthers are running through the NFL. This was the season that Cam Newton put it all together. Just how good was he this season? I'll tell you. Cam threw 35 touchdowns, boasted a quarterback rating of 99.4, and he threw 10 interceptions, which at this point is a career low. Pretty good, right? There's more. He also ran for 636 yards on the season with 10 rushing touchdowns. He did have 5 fumbles, but we'll worry about that later. Who cares? He was Superman. The Carolina Panthers bullied their way to a 15-1 record on the season. Cam put up these numbers despite having a suspect offensive line and a rather weak receiving corps. He was rewarded an MVP for his trouble. At the time, he was the only black quarterback to have sole possession of an MVP award. Steve McNair did it in 2003, but he shared it with Peyton Manning, who was nearing the peak of his powers. The Panthers soared into the NFC divisional round against the Seattle Seahawks and played like a number 1 seed should. They jumped out to a 31-0 lead. Wait. Okay, never mind. The Panthers would face the Larry Fitzgerald-led Arizona Cardinals in the next round and destroy them in historic fashion. They won 49-15. The 49 points that the Panthers scored was a record for the most points in an NFC championship game. The Carolina Panthers were going to the Super Bowl. The best regular season record, the number 1 offense, an NFL MVP running the show. It was hard to say that there was a worthy opponent out there. They would face the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, led by quarterback Peyton Manning. But this wasn't prime MVP Peyton. This was a quarterback who was in his final season and at this point, over the hill. So how did he get there? The Denver Broncos were a dominant team as well, just on the other side of the ball. They boasted the number 1 defense in the league. So here we go. Denver starts the game by kicking a field goal on the opening drive. 3-0 Broncos. It's 3rd and 10 for the Panthers deep in their own territory. Cam snaps the ball, and remember that weak O-line I was talking about earlier? Von Miller came off the edge with bad intentions for a strip sack. If you look at the play, they put the camera on him before it happened. It's like they knew. Von ripped the ball away from Cam, and Malik Jackson was there to fall on it. After an extra point, it was 10-0 Broncos. Both offenses would struggle for the rest of the quarter. Carolina had a great defense too this season. Early in the second quarter, behind Aqib Talib's personal foul penalty, the Panthers were on the goal line. Jonathan Stewart was able to leap into the end zone, and after a weird dance and an extra point, 10-7 Broncos. The Panthers would give up a big punt return to set up another field goal. Early in the third quarter, the Broncos kicked another field goal, 16-7 Broncos. After both teams traded turnovers, the Panthers were able to score a field goal early in the fourth quarter. But the play that I want to talk about comes with 4 minutes and 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The Panthers are beginning to run out of time and need to pick up a first down on 3rd and 9. Cam drops back to pass, and Von Miller gets home again with another strip sack. But then the weirdest thing happens. Cam has the ball in his sights, and he's about to jump on it, and he just stops. He would go on to face heavy criticism for this. He later explained, quote, "Okay, I didn't get the fumble. We can play tit for tat. I've seen numerous quarterbacks throw interceptions in their effort afterwards and they don't go. I don't dive on one fumble because the way my leg was, it could have been contorted in some way. He continues. Okay, you say my effort? I didn't dive down. I fumbled. That's fine. The game wasn't built off of... We didn't lose that game because of the fumble. I'll say that. End quote. He's right. The Panthers will go on to lose the Super Bowl 24-10. Everyone remembers Cam not diving on the ball. But what you might not remember were the drops. You remember the weak receiving core I brought up earlier? Jericho Cotchery dropped 3 of his 5 targets. All 3 of those drops would have resulted in first downs. His third drop was brutal. It would have put the Panthers inside the 5-yard line. They had to settle for a field goal. Ted Ginn Jr. dropped a pass that resulted in an interception. It wasn't a perfect throw, but he should have been able to bring that in. The Denver Broncos also tied the Super Bowl record with 7 sacks. They also boasted an incredible secondary. That unit didn't give up more than 200 yards passing a game in the regular season, the only team to do so in 2015. Did Cam have his greatest game? No. But that one fumble, the clip that's been shown over and over again, didn't cost the Panthers the game. During the post-game press conference, Cam walked out while questions were still being asked. It's typically frowned upon for your quarterback to do this. It's not really a good look. Most sports fans were thinking, you can answer questions during the 15-win season, but you can't answer questions when you lose? But what you didn't hear was Broncos cornerback Chris Harris in the space right beside him answering questions. Quote, we dared him to throw. The game plan was, can you throw on us? Me, Talib, and Roby? We knew he couldn't throw on us. End quote. That quote was said loud enough for Cam to hear, and he walked out. This was the biggest game of his life, and he had a disappointing performance. But it left a bad taste in fans' mouths. When all season long, Cam had no problem celebrating and letting you know how great he was. But when he lost, he couldn't face the music. He was sulking, something he had been criticized for earlier in his career. Cam would answer questions before the 2016 season started. He answered questions for about 3 minutes, but it really boiled down to these 3 quotes. At the end of the day, when you invest so much time and sacrifice so much and things don't go as planned, I think emotions take over. I'm human. I never once said that I was perfect. I never proclaimed that I was perfect. I've been on record to say I'm a sore loser. Who likes to lose? You show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser. The Panthers started off the season against the Denver Broncos. In a game that was supposed to exact revenge, it was the total opposite. Cam took a ton of punishment this game. He took hits to the head and neck area and no flags were thrown. He took literal helmet-to-helmet shots and nothing. It's like when Shaq played or LeBron now. They're both physical specimens and can shrug off a lot of contact, but they're still fouls. The ref should call it. I gotta take you back to 2015 to dive into this a little further. Cam took a late hit on a play against the New Orleans Saints. Cam complains to ref Ed Hockley. Here's Cam explaining what happened. Quote, I was really baffled by what was said to me, Newton said of Hockley. I was rolling out trying to string out the play and create some kind of opportunity to get a completion. The defensive lineman, kind of hit me. It was close, right on the cusp. Was it a late hit? I don't know. The response I got was, Cam, you're not old enough to get that call. I'm looking at him like, what? I didn't think you had to have seniority to get a personal foul or anything like that. End quote. Weird. For Cam, these hits were blatant, and it baffles me how nothing was called in this game against the Broncos. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, any other quarterback would get that call. Why not Cam? One play changed the course of Cam Newton's career forever. Maybe even more than the fumble in the Super Bowl. It's 1st and goal on the 4 against the San Diego Chargers. Cam throws an interception, but doesn't give up on the play. While trying to make a touchdown-saving tackle, Cam messes up his AC joint in his shoulder. He would have problems with his shoulder for the rest of his career. The Carolina Panthers would go 6-10 that season, and they finished last place in the NFC South. With the team losing Josh Norman and other defensive pieces, they just weren't the same. Cam also had to have surgery on a torn rotator cuff in his throwing shoulder. He missed the last 2 games of the season because of it. It was a down year. This was a bounce-back year for Cam and the Panthers. They finished 11-5, enough for 2nd place in the NFC South and to lock down a wildcard spot against the New Orleans Saints. Cam balled out. And late in the game, he had the Panthers driving deep into the Saints territory to set up a game-winning score, but they turned the ball over on downs. The Panthers would lose 31-26. Not good. On October 4th, during the season, Jordan Rodriguez, a sports writer for the Charlotte Observer then and The Athletic now, asked Cam a question regarding wide receiver routes in a press conference.
A lot of pride in seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny. But
his remarks were viewed as sexist by Rodriguez and many others in the media. Not good. Cam would later post an apology video, but the damage was done. The yogurt company Dannon would drop Cam because of the ordeal. Also, not good. The Panthers jumped out to a 6-2 record, but would go on to lose 6 straight games after that. Cam's play dipped because of a shoulder injury. He was deactivated for the final 2 games of the season and had surgery on his right shoulder. Cam Newton was back in time for week 1 of the season. The Panthers started 0-2, and those would be the last games Cam would play that season. He was held out of week 3's game against the Arizona Cardinals because of a Liz Frank fracture. He was placed on injury reserve. In March of 2020, the Panthers gave Cam permission to seek a trade. When he couldn't find a trade partner, he was released. 5 years ago, Cam Newton was the MVP of the league and guided his team to a Super Bowl appearance. And now he was a free agent looking for a new home. That home would be the New England Patriots. Tom Brady left to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Cam Newton was signed to be his potential successor. Tough shoes to fill. He was named the starter for week 1 and got the win against the Miami Dolphins. The next game against the Seattle Seahawks, Cam gave a performance that put the NFL world back on notice. It didn't result in a win though. On a potential game-winning drive, the Seahawks were able to stop Cam on the 1-yard line, sealing a 35-30 victory. Then Cam tested positive for COVID. He only missed a week of play, but the Patriots would go on to have a season to forget. It was a weird season for Cam. He led all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns with 12, but his passing left much to be desired, throwing more interceptions than touchdowns. Cam signed a 1-year deal to stay with the Patriots. This season he had to compete with new rookie quarterback Mac Jones. On August 21st, Cam Newton traveled to an appointment outside the New England area. Despite multiple negative COVID tests, he had to stay away from the team facility for 5 days due to the rules the NFL set in place for unvaccinated players. This caused him to miss 4 days of practice. Cam was able to return to the team and play in their final preseason game, but Mac Jones had shown enough in training camp and preseason to the point where the Patriots felt like they didn't need Cam, and he was released on August 31st, 2021. When adversity hits in life, it shows you what you're made of. There will be good times and bad. No one knows where life or a sports career will take you, but it's all about the journey, and sometimes the best journey takes you back home. On November 11th, 2021, Cam signed with the Carolina Panthers on a 1-year deal following an injury to starting quarterback Sam Darnold. Superman was back, and the move energized a franchise who so desperately wanted the feeling that the magical 2015 season gave them again. In his first game back with the Panthers, they would face the Arizona Cardinals, where it all started for Cam. He would play a limited role behind P.J. Walker, but early in the first quarter, the Panthers were on the goal line, and in his very first play, Cam brushed off 2 defenders and ran over a third for a Panthers touchdown. All the failure, all the hits, the injuries, in this moment, it didn't matter. On his very first pass, just 3 minutes later, Cam threw a touchdown. The Panthers destroyed the Cardinals, 34-10. I wish the story ended here, but it doesn't. Cam was named the starter the following week. The Panthers would go 0-5 in all the games he started that season. In a Week 12 loss to the Dolphins, Cam would go 5 of 21 on his passes, only completing an abysmal 23.8% of his passes. After that season, he hasn't played a down in the NFL. Cam Newton seems like he's in a good place and at peace with his career. He has a podcast on his YouTube channel called Funky Fridays where he interviews guests, and a show called 4th and 1 with Cam Newton, where he gives a recap of all things NFL for the week and just talks ball. Cam Newton's prime didn't last long for a number of reasons. His throwing accuracy wasn't the best. His style of play caused him to take a lot of punishment. Injuries stacked up, especially to his throwing shoulder. Your body can only take so much. He was criticized a lot during his career. Some of it was deserved and some of it wasn't. But few quarterbacks have reached the heights that Cam Newton was able to reach, even if it was only for a few seasons. Sometimes a star that burns twice as bright burns twice as fast. If you've watched this much, I just want to say thank you. Go ahead and hit the like button for me, subscribe to the channel, and comment on what athletes I should cover next for this series. I'm Jay Chave. Love.